Retail Fast Five, brought to you in partnership with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Firework, SPS Commerce, and Sezzle. Ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally, the Retail Fast Five is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. Today is August 31st, 2023. I'm your host, Ann Mazenga.
And I'm Chris Walton.
And we are here once again to discuss the most important headlines of the past week that highlight how the physical, digital, and human elements of retail are coming together to shape the future. Chris, my friend.
Yes, Ann.
You have a new topper on today.
A new topper. That's an interesting hat. Yes, I do. This hat. I got this new hat courtesy of the Hat Club, thehatclub.com. It's part of their 30 for 30 collection where they're highlighting baseball teams and their logos and their various paraphernalia from the early 90s, which were the salad days of my youth and the early days of high school, freshman through junior year, the early 90s, so I'm proudly wearing it. I'm going to put the link to the collection in the show notes today, but yeah, thanks to them for giving me my hat wear for today's podcast. It's been a while since I've worn a hat too, Ann, I think.
I was going to say, well, it's funny.
I'm trying to class it up.
I think that the people that approach us with like product sampling requests know us very well.
Yeah.
You are getting 30 for 30 like vintage hat collection, and I am getting Cozy Earth like stay at home joggers for the middle-aged woman.
Yeah, that's right. And I forgot to say too, the reason it's a Cubs hat is because I am going down to Iowa this weekend for Labor Day weekend to celebrate my grandfather, Richard Giudices. He's from the south side of Chicago originally. His 96th birthday, and 96 years old. Yes. He's Richard Giudice, and my uncle's Richard, my son's Richard. So we've got Big Dick, Little Dick, and Wee Dick in the family. That's what we call them, man. That's
you call your son Wee Dick?
We do sometimes. Yes, we call him.
Oh boy,
especially when he's being naughty, and especially when he's being naughty.
Okay, all right.
That's how we refer to each other in the Walton Giudice household. Yes, the good old Italian name, which you could never know by looking.
You're gonna have to get a photo of that this weekend, I think.
I know, right? Oh, I'm sure there'll be lots of photos. Yes, although he probably can't stand up to take one anymore at his age. But we'll do our best with him for sure.
Okay, well, Chris, we've got a big show today.
We got a fun show. The headlines they're like amping up. It's like
they don't realize
August anymore.
Yeah, they don't realize it's the last week before Labor Day weekend. The retail industry was like, bam, we're starting early this year.
We're slamming you, Omni Talk. All right, well, before we get to the headlines, I want to tell everyone that the long-awaited moment has finally arrived. Meetup Selections Week is now underway for Grocery Shop, and the buzz of connections being forged is, let's just say, Ann, it's electric. It's electric. Dude.
Like the slide?
Like the slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly like that. As you're listening to this, thousands of grocery ecosystem peers from across the globe are checking out each other's profiles and selecting who they like to meet through Meetup, happening during Grocery Shop in Las Vegas next month. I was actually, believe it or not, and I was talking to the Grocery Shop leadership team yesterday.
Yes.
And they told me, believe it or not, they told me that within the first 24 hours, a staggering 20,000 selections were made in their Meetup system. That is crazy.
I'm surprised it doesn't break. Like,
I know, right?
Like, this is like mass input towards the system, but they're 20,000 people.
20,000 selections in 24 hours. That's crazy. And it's just getting started. You can get in on the action and kickstart meaningful connections with the individuals who will help you drive your business forward. And the cherry on top too, Ann, is that these meetings operate on a double opt-in basis, ensuring you don't waste a minute of your time. You can rest assured you're meeting with someone who you want to meet and who wants to meet you. But time is of the essence, folks. Prices are going up, and Meetup is closing this coming Tuesday, September 6th. So don't miss out. Head over to groceryshop.com/OmniTalk and secure your place within the industry's most expansive and cutting-edge networking program to date. That's groceryshop.com/OmniTalk. And are you pumped for Grocery Shop? I can't wait. I've been prepping my stage presentations with my panelists. I'm getting goosed up for this.
Yeah, I'm out in Santa Cruz. I've been trying to visit as many grocery stores as I can while I'm out here because they have different banners than we get to see. So last night I was in a Safeway, and I've got some stories for you, Chris. It's going to...
Got some Safeway stories. Oh, I like Safeway stories. Oh man, Safeway, pickup. That reminds me of Pickup Safeway in
Yes.
San Francisco.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
yes. Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Are those stories you're going to share on this podcast, or are those stories you're going to tell me in private?
I think that if you see us at grocery shop, I'll share some of my
All
Safeway
right. So
stories.
ask Anne about her Safeway stories, folks. That's quite an enticing offer there, and I love it. All right. In today's Fast Five, we've got news on Shein and Forever 21, Amazon bringing Just Walk Out on campus with Grubhub, Macy's and Gap partnering on a new sleepwear collection, Sephora rolling out contactless checkout on its employees' devices. But we begin today with additional news on the payment front that's pretty interesting, Anne.
Hold on to your double macchiato, Chris, because Starbucks is piloting Scanless payments at the drive-thru. Everyone,
I know, right?
Collectively rejoice. Everybody in the background listening to this podcast is getting excited. So, according to TechCrunch, Starbucks confirmed an internal test of Scanless Pay, which is a new contactless checkout method that would leverage a Starbucks app's users' current geolocation to identify them in the drive-thru lane so that they wouldn't have to pull out their phone to pay. The experience is currently only being tested as a proof of concept with Starbucks employees, the company told TechCrunch. It does not have a set date to when this feature would launch with consumers, or if it even will. But let's be real, it's gonna.
I think it's gonna happen. Yeah.
The system works by asking the user to opt into the feature in their app. And once that's enabled, customers can check in on the mobile app when they arrive at a participating drive-thru store. They're in that long line for the drive-thru. Then once they get to the screen, they can tell the barista their name, that they've checked in after placing their order. Then when they approach the window, there isn't anything else to do but give them your name, accept your order, and move on. Chris, what has Starbucks done for us now?
I know, like, Starbucks is so great. Like, what's that? That's like from a movie. So great. It's so great. Yeah. Oh, it's Jimmy Fallon. So great. It's so great, guys. They're so great at being on the front side of everything, man. I mean, you kind of hit it on the head right there. I mean, and the cool thing about this story too is we know that getting people quickly through a drive-through matters. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if you saw this too, and I think you did, but there was a story in the news about 3 or 4 weeks ago where they added a drive-through lane in a Phoenix store, a Phoenix operation.
Yeah.
And the sales from that additional drive-through lane have increased like upwards of 20% just from the one drive-through lane. That's how much more drive-through traffic they're getting. So it makes sense that when it comes to drive-through, you want to do anything you can to speed up this process, especially if you live in Minnesota like we do, and you don't want to hand your phone or your credit card out the window when it's like below 0 degrees, and you're certainly as hell not going into the Starbucks either. So, but the cool thing about this to me, what's really interesting about this approach, is we've talked about various approaches. We had Listener on our show a while ago where they're doing ultrasonic technology to, pass sound waves to do this type of thing. But this approach is really interesting because they're geolocating the car,
right,
based on where it is in the drive-through against the app. And so that has broad applicability when you start thinking about gas stations that can do the same thing, electric vehicle charging that can do the same thing. So, you said it, but I 100% agree with you. It's only a matter of time before this gets out of the test phase, because I think people are going to use it, and the people that use it are going to love it and want to keep using it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just look at the success. Like I was reading too in preparation for this, like Starbucks has seen 70% of its orders are coming through mobile pickup. Like people are utilizing this already. It's just a behavior that they've developed, and you can already do this. Like when you can already do a mobile order pickup in the drive-through. And I don't know if you've tried that.
I've never done that. I didn't know you could do that. That's
super
awesome.
Slick too. Yeah, I mean, granted, assuming the line isn't super long, but like if it starts to downpour, you can just pull up and to the drive-through and do this. So I don't see any reason why Starbucks wouldn't move forward with this, especially as a test. Like it's the same thing they did once they started mobile ordering. Like get people, those early adopters on the platform, start doing heavier utilization beyond just the employees, and really pressure test this to see what the best way is for this to be successful for Starbucks. But I think you're also right too, Chris. I think it's only a matter of time before we see more retailers in the QSR space start to utilize this technology beyond Starbucks. I mean, we saw kind of the trickle down effect once Starbucks saw so much success with this. We're seeing, you know, Panera testing Just Walk Out, or Palm technology from Amazon to do this sort of thing to really speed up this process, because there isn't a reason why it needs to be the long exchange, and there is so much more of a revenue opportunity if they can nail this down and do this more quickly and more efficiently.
Yeah. Do you remember those early days of the Starbucks app, Anne, when we'd come in and we knew how to use it and no one else knew? And like people would look at us like, what the heck were you doing?
It's still happening, Chris, in the airport on the way here. It was like, there's this long snake line. It's like people don't even realize that, you know, that's it. That's an option. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to talk about this more in the show, but I think there's even more opportunity here, whether you're going to build your own like Starbucks is doing, or you're going to license something like Amazon technology to help expedite this process. But it's something that I think we're going to continue to see in the QSR space.
This one's going to be harder for people to see though and get amazed, right? Because you can't see inside somebody's car to see how they're paying. But you know, but yeah, I think this will take off as soon as people get used to using it. So all right, headline number 2: Shein and Forever 21 have signed a mutual distribution deal. According to Retail Dive, Shein has inked a deal with Forever 21's operator that would allow the fast fashion rivals to distribute each other's products through both companies' digital and retail channels. Under the deal, Shein will hold a 1/3 interest in Spark Group, the operator, a joint venture, or what is also the operator of Forever 21, which is a joint venture between Forever 21's parent companies, Authentic Brands Group, and the Simon Property Group. And Spark will also, interestingly enough, become a minority shareholder in Shein. And what are your thoughts on this tie-up? I imagine you got quite a bit to say on this one.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. It's just like you have two former foes that are joining forces to like take over the fast fashion world. I mean, I think this is brilliant. You have Forever 21 with a physical footprint in North America that Shein customers desperately need, that Shein needs for their customers, for returns, for try-on, for resale, for pop-up. Like we've seen Shein do pop-up physical stores, but if you can just move into Forever 21, like they're talking about doing with this partnership, like so easy, right demographic, right mix of you know what, making up for like Forever 21 having what Shein doesn't. And the benefit isn't all to Shein either here. I think Forever 21 now gets the scale digitally that Shein can offer them, and now has, you know, products that they can put on the Shein platform to sell beyond, you know, the North American market where they're doing so well. And I'm curious to see, Chris, do you think that eventually, like, do you think there's any interest in the other like Authentic Brands Group brands going on the Shein platform eventually? Like Shein's talking about marketplacing and stuff. Like we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Like I'm curious to see, like this seems like the logical approach where, you know, they're supplementing for what each other doesn't have, Forever 21 and Shein, but will they start to bring other brands on the Shein, you know, marketplace or platform after Forever 21 pilots this?
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting. I mean, the other, I think the other point of this that's even more interesting to me though is actually like, does Shein, you know, acquire or in some way become Forever 21 in the United States, right? Like, does that end up being what happens here? Because that takes the stigma of being a Chinese company out of the equation in a lot of ways too. And so there's interesting tie-ins when you start going down that road. But that's why I love it too. It's a great move on both sides because, you know, like you said, or you know, the points I would add, like Forever 21's been in a tough spot. Like they've been in a tough spot of late, you know, and they've been getting pushed very hard by everyone in this space, all of the digitally native brands, but particularly Shein too. Like that's going right into their territory. So the cool thing about this deal is they're now equally yoked to try to figure this out together.
Right.
And so that's why the long-term significance of maybe there's a play here where one becomes the other is really interesting to me. And we had Winnie Park, the CEO of Forever 21, on our show when we were at Commerce Next. We were super impressed with her and how she thought about the business. Huge background in apparel and retailing, and is going to figure this out too. So great move by her.
Right.
In the first years of her tenure as well. I mean, I gotta love it.
All right, let's go to headline number 3. Grubhub is adding Amazon's Just Walk Out technology to its college campus dining experiences. According to GeekWire, Amazon's Just Walk Out technology is being deployed for the first time by Grubhub as part of the food ordering platform's Grubhub campus experience. Just Walk Out will be used at Loyola University, Maryland, in Baltimore, at a store called the Bowman Express, which offers freshly prepared foods, beverages, frozen food, snacks, and convenience store items. Loyola is one of 300 higher education institutions that Grubhub works with, and it says that Grubhub also told GeekWire that it is the only food ordering and delivery marketplace that works with campus dining programs. So they've got the monopoly, Chris.
Interesting.
What do you think of this this move by Grubhub on the Loyola campus?
Yeah, and you know, the important part of this story too, which I forgot about, I had to go back and look this up because I had totally forgotten about this. I forgot. I mean, I remember that there was the Grubhub with Prime thing, right? Yeah. That they announced like a year. I don't remember when it was, but it was a while back. I forgot that they also invested in Grubhub, right? They have all these
Amazon,
they have all these warrants to get more equity and stuff.
Yes.
So this is really interesting and very strategic from Amazon. And I'll explain why in a sec. But I don't know, Ed. I don't know if I'm sick today because I love all 3 of the first headlines. Like the first 3 headlines, I'm like love, love, love. You know, that's like 3 loves in a row. Like it's like the show is big love.
Are you feeling
today.
All right?
Big love,
okay?
Big love Omni Talk, which
hopefully
it's not because that would be really weird. But no, I mean, the idea of merging Just Walk Out with food delivery is something that I've long been a fan of. I first wrote about it in Forbes back in 2020, which was like 3 years ago. And it makes so much sense to start with doing that on campus and then broaden out from there. Because the interesting thing about campus, when you talk about last mile or quick delivery, is that there's scale, because the same orders are more likely going to the same neighborhoods, or even in this case, the same dormitories. That's very different than, say, like the standard quick commerce operation where you have no idea where those orders are going, you know, out. You have no clue. But here, they're likely going in the same area. So that gives you scale in the delivery. And so this is very akin to what DoorDash is doing with their Double Dash program. Because over the long run, if you think about it, you play this out, it gives Grubhub the ability to do the exact same thing out of their convenience stores on campus, and gives them the ability to offer that service to their college customers that are ordering food delivered to their dorms or for pickup at the on-site dining hall. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Thanks for saying the dining halls. But then you could say also, you know what? I also want a bottle of Coke, a pack of Doritos, whatever the hell college kids are eating these days. You know, they can double dash that to the order. But the cool thing is the Just Walk Out technology makes that really simple, because all the inventory is accurate and clearly visible in the store so that those orders can be placed more reliably. That's the value here. Mm-hmm. And so I love this. Predicted that it was something we're going to start to see. Amazon smartly is going after it in the right place with the right partner. 300 locations across college campuses. That just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're 100% right. I think it's another example of how Amazon, in this case, and a company that it owns interest in, Grubhub, are creating this like easy button, not just for retailers, like not just like the examples we talked about earlier in the show with like Panera, but it's also doing this for educational institutions like colleges. They're learning and testing in that environment, all the way to housing. Like, I think this is there's another story this week about how they're deploying Just Walk Out technology at the Regency 55 plus housing. And I think that's another opportunity. Like, once you install Palm Pay, like how many things does that get you access to? Is it access to your dorm, room without having to carry a key around? Is it access to your housing facility, to the grocery store in the facility, to parking, like all of these things? I think that, it just further leverages or levers up Amazon as the go-to as an operation base for everything on an owned property. Like, I think this is huge. Plus you have Grubhub now, where you're getting students hooked because they're ordering from that's the only place they can go to the dining hall. This is multiple times a day. So now you're ingraining this behavior into those students who will eventually graduate, become Prime members or Grubhub Plus members, fingers crossed. But it's so part of their day-to-day process, and they've been doing it so quickly that there's no reason to leave the platform, even if it increases in price a couple dollars once they get out of campus. And then the final thing I'll say is, Chris, the dining hall card is the method of payment here too.
Oh,
so when you think about as a parent sending your kid to college, like you're just loading that thing up. You don't know where you assume it's dining hall, but now as a student, I get access to delivery from my favorite restaurants that Grubhub will bring to my apartment. And sure, I'm using the dining hall. Like, nope, no, I'm not. I'm getting Domino's pizza delivered every night. And now it's all coming out of your student supplied payments app, which I think again is like this underlying hidden thing here that's happening in the background that is very powerful for Grubhub and for Amazon.
Yeah, that's really intriguing too. Yeah, because it's a convenience store basically. Like they're operating a convenience store on campus that has just walkout technology. And retail is all about scale. You know, I talked about it before with being on campus, but the other scale in this is you're operating a convenience store, which is also a warehouse for picking, for, you know, doubling up on your orders. And the other point I'd raise too, and then we'll move on, is I reposted the article that I wrote in Forbes, and you know who immediately jumped on it and was like, "Thank you for recognizing what we're doing here." Amazon people. They're like, yeah. So I mean, like, that's the play here, people. That's why they're doing this. It's pretty damn obvious that there's something to what we're talking about here. So, all right, Ann, headline number 4. This is a fun one. This is definitely one not to sleep on, and you'll see why that was very much a pun intended. The Gap and Macy's have partnered on a new sleepwear collection. According to Chain Store Age, the exclusive collection of sleepwear, underwear, and intimates for men and women is available now on Macy's.com, Macy's mobile app, and in select Macy's stores nationwide. Prices range from $12.50 to $79.95. And
yes,
you can tell how I feel about this already from that read.
Yes.
But this is also the put you on the spot question this week from our good friends at the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. And here it is, quote.
Let's have it.
New Gap CEO Richard Dixon recently said.
Dixon.
Dick
Back in
Dixon,
the news.
Our favorite alliterative name.
Do you think people call him Wee Dick?
I doubt they do.
We might be calling him that from now on.
Wee Dick Dixon. All right. He said, "We need to make these brands matter more. And I want August 22nd, which was his first day on the job, 2023, to mark an exciting new chapter, for Gap Inc." So the question for you, Ann, is this: is a sleepwear partnership with Macy's the way you hoped Gap would start Wee Dick Dixon's next chapter?
Oh, Wee Dick. My guess is, Chris, to answer A&M's question, is that this plan was in motion long before Wee Dick Dixon was seated as CEO. At least I hope.
Although he was on the board, but yeah, hopefully this didn't go for board approval.
True. I'm guessing though that he was not involved in this specific decision. This was just the result of people saying yes to anything that might bring in revenue for the brand to try to save the struggling Gap brand. And in fact, I'm reading something right now that I want to call out to readers. There's a book called The Kingdom of Prep by Maggie Bullock that I'm reading right now that explores the history of J. Crew, but a good chunk of this book is also talking about Gap because they brought so many people over from Gap. But the whole point of this, and I think this is important for this story, is that it's talking about the different CEOs that keep getting brought in to like revive these brands, and how each of these CEOs have kind of gone in and done that, both at Gap, like Mickey Drexler, and then, you know, when they brought him into J. Crew, like what their hopes are for the people to do this. But I think that what I've found in this book so far, and I think this is applicable for Gap too, is like the people that really have the ability to revive these brands are the ones who are focused on the unique point of view that Gap in this case brings. And I don't know how this is helping the Gap brand or even the Macy's brand. Like there's not enough cachet in the Gap name anymore, I think, to make this like a barn burner seller for the Macy's crowd. Like I would expect that they would go with something like denim or something that's a little more attuned to like Gap's roots, instead of, you know, a sleepwear collection. Like Gap's not known for their sleepwear collection.
It's a tell.
No, it definitely is. So I just want to understand Wee Dick Dixon. I got some questions for you. Why Macy's?
Yeah.
Why sleepwear? How are you going to resurrect this brand with your unique style and point of view? Otherwise, there's no reason to have Gap does not need to exist. Like I really don't think that there's nothing driving me to Gap to get a certain thing that I can't get anywhere else. And partnering with Macy's is certainly not the way to do this. So
Yes.
That was my long rant.
Yeah, no, it's good because I'm gonna take that rant and add to it, and I'm gonna use the word we again. I'm gonna see how many times we can use we in this podcast, because do you remember the old Scottish Mike Myers on Saturday Night Live? There's we, little we, and freaking huge.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go on a freaking huge rant here, Ann, because I 100% agree. This makes so little sense on so many levels. Okay, yeah. First of all, I think 3 points I want to make here. First of all, the beauty of Gap and the heritage of Gap is that it isn't a department store.
Yes.
And in fact, I can make the argument that the Gap was one of the originators of the whole idea of specialty apparel. And to see them go into a department store is completely mind-boggling to me. It makes no sense. I can remember a phone conversation that I had vividly with a friend of mine, Louis Fanger. That was his name. He's probably not listening. Still friends with him, but he's probably not listening. But I was 23 years old. I just started working at the Gap. And I was basically like, dude, I love my job. I don't understand why anyone goes into a department store to shop for clothing when they can go to a specialty retail apparel store and just shop inside the brand in the mall. Like, I just don't understand that. True story. I remember that conversation vividly. And now you're putting your products into the department store? Makes no sense. All right, so second
it's the
point,
antithesis of, like, wasn't Gap, the creator of Gap created it to sell Levi's. Like, that was that's in this book too. Like, he created Gap because the department stores couldn't carry enough stock of the Levi's that he wanted to get in the 70s.
And then Mickey Drexler came in and supercharged the whole idea of specialty retail. Like, merchant prints, kudos to him. But then my second point, Ann, it gets even better. Like, what point does Macy's even serve strategically? You're in the same mall. Like, how does that help either company? And then my last point, which is what you hit on too, sleepwear. I mean, first you had home products with Walmart, which we also said was dumb. Again, something you don't know at the Gap. Now you're doing sleepwear with Macy's. If you really think distribution partnerships are the answer, then why don't you go all in and be done with it and put your logo on your sweatshirts and start selling them on Amazon? But, oh, wait, you already do that. Remember? They already do that too. So I mean, good luck, Dick Dixon. You've got a hell of a job in front of you. And at the end of the day, when it gets right down to it, it starts with better product and better in-store experience. In the Gap stores themselves, if you think wholesale is going to save you, no way in hell. It starts with better products and better experiences in your brands themselves. That's what's going to matter. Approaches like this aren't going to fix a goddamn thing, Ann. All right, my rant is over.
We've gone over our 5 minutes.
I don't know if I topped it, but like, whatever, I wanted to get animated there.
That's all right. We feel very passionately about Gap sleepwear.
And I think we were under 5 minutes. By my records, we were 4:46 actually.
All right.
So I think we nailed it, but let's see.
Let's stay on track.
How it plays out. Yeah.
All right. Headline number 5. Chris, this will get your blood pressure back down. Headline number 5 is that Sephora will now accept payment via employee devices in select U.S. stores. According to retail leaders, Sephora's beauty advisors within these stores will be able to accept contactless credit and debit cards, Apple Pay, and other NFC-enabled digital wallets available on smartphones and smartwatches anywhere in their stores using their iPhone and the point of sale app. Chris, what are your thoughts on this one? You gonna go on a rant for me?
No, good question. But no, and I know you've got some points here too that, as a more devout Sephora shopper than I can probably shed some light on this more than I can. But no, I mean, I love this one too, which makes, I think, 4 out of the 5 headlines that I love. Leave it to my favorite brand, the Gap, to bring you down. To keep me from 5 out of 5, which I think would be an all-time first on the show. But I love this, but I will express a caveat, Ann.
Okay.
Because mobile employee checkout experiences aren't just about checkout. That was a big epiphany I had in talking to somebody earlier this week and looking at this story. The real beauty in them, in leveraging them as a capability inside your retail operation, is that the mobile device is a selling tool throughout the shopping process. And therefore, it can make it easy when the time comes to pay, but you shouldn't think about it as solely as a device that checks people out. So by that, I mean, like, there's other things you can be doing with these devices, like logging what people are telling your sales associates, the products that they want, or updating their carts through the try-on process in apparel is another example. And then when it comes to time to check out, making it simple and easy. But while I think my other caveat too is, like, while I think it's going to work for Sephora, this isn't something that I would advise all fashion specialty retailers to start, following on and rushing into to follow what they're doing here, the approach they're doing here, even though they're a great omni-channel retailer, because you have to take an approach like I just described, because there's still other activities inside those operations like bagging, folding, tag removal that are going to come into play. So you have to think about how you're going to deploy a mobile checkout system or operation differently inside of those environments. So that's the one thing. But I love it for Sephora, particularly when you think about the sales assisted model that they have on the floor.
Yeah.
And then also through how they do their queue and their wrap to pay, which can be, very long at times as well.
Yeah. I mean, you got me thinking too, like even thinking about like the listening that could eventually happen on those devices for training for future, you know what I mean? Like there's so much information that you can be collecting, ordering things from, shipping from a different store. Like we've seen, work so well at places like Lululemon with the iPhones. Like there's so much opportunity here, but most of all, I think this to me says that Sephora as a retailer is truly listening to their customers in their desires to have an omni-channel, the definition of an omni-channel experience, which is checking out in all the ways and varieties that I want as a consumer and meeting my needs there. If I'm just going in for a refill trip, I know what, foundation I'm getting, but I need some help with that assistant. They bring me to the foundation and I can check out right then and there, plop it in my bag, and then walk out the store instead of waiting in the very, very long, which can get very long, winding Sephora line that they're known so well for. I think this is just really making sure that I can get the information that I need I can check out without having to, to be searching through the store for somebody. Plus it also gives attribution, I think, to those cast members who are helping, the beauty advisors who are helping you in the store, instead of me trying to remember once I've been waiting in line for 20 minutes, who helped me on the floor, trying to find them throughout the store. Like, this is giving attribution, which I think will also help improve, stats and training for those sales associates too, so that they're getting recognition for the time that they're spending and the impact they're having on the store's bottom line. So I absolutely love this. The only question I have is like, what was a hurdle like to get the Sephora team over, what they're known so well for, this winding line with all the minis and sampling that,
Impulse
they're
purchases,
like one of the best impulse shopping examples that is out there. So like, how does this impact what's going on in that line? But I really don't think it's any risk to them. I think they're just going to see more revenue.
I'm sure it's something they're watching closely. The other point that I bring up too in closing here too, and this is not my kind of insight. It's something I learned from Mike Tattersall as I was prepping him for a grocery shop interview, believe it or not. But I think it's very germane to this conversation, which is, he said he predicts a simplification of software and hardware that employees have to use in their day-to-day jobs in the stores. That there's going to be a consolidation effort around both those things, which is really interesting. And so you think of it as like, what is the all-in-one or all-encompassing PDA or personal data assistant that the store employees are going to use that works for every job? And what is the core software that enables them to do those jobs is also the next question, and what that looks like on those devices and what those interfaces look like too. But that's the path we're going down, because, there's less employees, they're more expensive to get, and you need them to be as productive as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Chris, well, let's go to the lightning round. The first question I have for you is, a Capri Sun kid noise canceling juice drink campaign just launched in collaboration with TaskRabbit, which promises to deliver almost a minute of quiet based on the idea that it takes an average of roughly 50 seconds to drink a Capri Sun. What is your go-to kid noise canceling trick? And I need to know this because I'm traveling right now with my two small children, one of whom will not stop talking.
50 seconds to drink a Capri Sun, I think would take me like 2 seconds to drink a Capri Sun. God, I hate to say it, but the best noise canceling trick is the iPad, the video games. I mean, that it works every time. It works every time. Or I think, my one kid likes Punch Pizza, which is a local pizza place. If I get that in his face, he'll shut up quiet and start eating for a couple days, or a couple of minutes. But yeah, those are the best answers I have. Unfortunately, the first one really sucks. All right, Hellman just gave a rookie Titans quarterback a lifetime mayonnaise
That's another kind of thing. Mayonnaise.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to put mayo on, Anne?
Oh, easily a BLT. I think that like makes
Right
the
there with you.
BLT, right? It's like the
Yeah.
best part. Absolutely.
And you can't have too much.
No.
If you over mayonnaise a BLT, it'll screw it up. You got to be
No.
very cautious with how much you put on.
But it is the best thing, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right. Question number 3, Chris. IKEA's radical innovation studio, Studio 10, is shutting down forever. The goal of the studio was to figure out new ways of thinking about what IKEA could accomplish rather than specific products it should sell. If there were one thing in your life you would like to IKEA-ize, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. Nothing's coming off the top of my head, but I will tell you this: if I were to have another kid, or if I was to rename my kid, I would strongly considering naming him Billy Bookcase Walton, because I think that would be just bomb.
So you would use the IKEA like Swedish names to reconsider naming your own
rename
children.
my kids Billy Bookcase Walton. I just love that BBW. That's just great.
I think maybe Dick Walton would appreciate a Billy Bookcase Walton.
He's probably gonna want to change his name later, right? Yeah,
perhaps, yes.
All right, last one. Dove is celebrating women's armpits by way of a new hashtag Free the Pits campaign at New York City transit hubs. Do you agree with the campaign creators who think that people should not be self-conscious of their underarms?
Absolutely not. You need to be self-conscious of your underarms at all times, especially on mass transit. Please, dear God, put on your deodorant. Dove, what in the hell are you trying to do to all of us? I want to like take the Dove marketing person who came up with this idea and just stick their head in an armpit for an entire subway ride from like, the Village all the way up to the Upper East Side. I'm going to put your head in the armpit and see if you still want to free the pits, man. Ugh.
Right. Yeah. Just because you're sure doesn't mean you should be raising your hand. No, 100%. I'm glad you said that. All right. Happy birthday today to Debbie Gibson, Chris Tucker, and to the man who, if I were so inclined, could be my American gigolo every day of the week and twice on Sundays, Richard Gere. And remember, if you can only read or listen, why are you giving me that face? You don't like Richard Gere?
I don't know. There's like too many gerbil stories from my kid. Like
so awesome in that movie, Anne. Oh my God.
Yeah.
American Gigolo. He's so good in that movie. Oh my God.
Another wee dick on this. Wee Dick Gere. That's his.
Yeah, he's a Richard too, isn't he? Yeah. Right. Wow.
Yeah. Dick Gere. Not my American Gigolo.
In that movie, there's nothing left to the imagination either, if my memory serves. So if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business on that final note, make it OmniTalk, the only retail media outlet run by 2 former executives from a current top 10 U.S. retailer. Our Fast 5 podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us, and we do it all just for you. And we try really hard to make it all fit within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks, as always, for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. Go Cubs, and until next week, and on behalf of all of us at OmniTalk Retail, as always, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast 5 is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Firework. Firework is the largest video commerce solution built for the world's leading brands. They empower brands with shoppable and live stream video on their own websites where people like to shop. Put your commerce in motion with Firework. You can find out more at firework.com. And SPS Commerce. SPS is redefining how businesses across the supply chain operate in an omnichannel world. Their experts, tech, and data work together to fuel your growth and deliver for your customers. To find out more, head to spscommerce.com. And Sezzle. Sezzle is an innovative buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to split purchases into 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. To learn more, visit Sezzle.com.